Well, good morning, everybody. I think we're well aware that as a result of Speaker Prieto's inability to take action to approve any FY18 budget by the statutory deadline of June 30th, per state law, the government's been closed. To ensure essential services continued, to ensure the safety and well-being of everyone in New Jersey, I've declared a state of emergency to allow for the continued operation of such vital services as the state police, state correctional facilities, key child welfare services, state hospitals and treatment facilities, New Jersey Transit, and all operations that are linked to health, safety, and the welfare of the public, including certain environmental and health monitoring services. Now, Speaker Prieto's inaction, in my view, is inexcusable, and it's inconveniencing everyone living in our state and visiting our state. As a result of just the absolute obstruction, we have a stalled budget process for the first time in 8 years, and our residents do not have access to a myriad of services that they deserve. During the Speaker's shutdown, all 40 state parks are closed, as are forests and historic sites, including Island Beach State Park and Liberty State Park. Campers with reservations Friday night were asked to leave by the normal checkout time on Saturday of 11 a.m. All public events within state parks and historic sites have been canceled. During the Speaker's shutdown, MVC agencies and inspection stations are closed. No running in to renew a license or take a driver's test or have your car inspected. Online services, however, are still available to the customers who use those. During the Speaker's shutdown, temporary disability insurance claims, wage and hour claims, and family leave insurance claims may be filed, but they will not be processed. One-stop career centers, state, not county ones, are closed, as are the workers' compensation courts and the Division of Vocational and Rehabilitation Services. Unemployment insurance and disability determination services will remain operational, though, for those who need them. During the Speaker's shutdown, road construction is continuing, as will emergency repairs and some roadside safety services. But the rest areas on I-295 in Salem County and on I-80 in Warren County are closed. During the Speaker's shutdown, taxation call centers and walk-in facilities will be closed. July 1st pension checks, though, for pensioners have been processed and mailed, so pensioners will get their checks. The Division of Risk Management will be closed. However, the scheduling of medical appointments, treatments, and services for injured workers will remain ongoing. The Division of Pension and Benefits will be closed, although I will continue payment of health provider claims and life claims and continue to process changes to family status for health benefits. And for all of you who are concerned about this, lottery sales are ongoing because, as we know, you have to be in it to win it. During the Speaker's shutdown, the public will not be able to obtain copies of birth and marriage certificates or copies of adoptees' original birth certificates. No new certifications or renewals will be issued for EMTs, for paramedics, or for certified nursing assistants. The Speaker's shutdown was completely unnecessary and completely avoidable. The fact is, I was ready to sign a budget yesterday. I'm still willing to sign one today. Speaker Prieto, however, in his refusal to post the Horizon bill for a vote by his fellow elected assembly members, has impacted the state of New Jersey and its residents unnecessarily. I want to again make it clear to the people of the state, I'm ready to sign a budget, and quite frankly, I don't care which budget comes to me. As I said yesterday, the state budget can be brought in either form. If it's sent in its $35.7 billion form, but the Horizon bill is not passed, then I will line item veto out all spending that I believe is not appropriate. If they send me a budget at $35.4 billion, I will again take a look closely at that budget and decide what I want to do. If the Horizon bill comes in, I will sign the budget as it was passed by both budget committees in the Senate and the Assembly. But all of that is hypothetical, of course, because the Speaker, who has 52 votes in his chamber, on his best moment could muster 26 for a budget. So I, along with the people of the state of New Jersey, are still waiting for a budget to be passed. Now, this is embarrassing, and it's pointless. The fact is, I'll speak later today more about the Horizon bill itself, but many of his fellow Democrats in the Assembly, and certainly the folks who voted for this bill in the Senate, along with Republicans in both houses, deserve better from the Speaker than what's really nothing more than a temper tantrum. We have a number of Republicans and Democrats here in this building now, and I'm glad to have you here. I understand that you would much rather be with your families today, with your friends, doing things for the 4th of July weekend, but you understand that we need to serve and we need to be here. So I appreciate you being here. I appreciate all the Republican colleagues I see. I appreciate Assemblyman Berzicelli being here as well. And I know there are a lot of folks on both sides of the aisle who would just as soon get this done. So with the people of New Jersey, I suspect. Now, I haven't heard from the Speaker since he stormed out of my conference room yesterday, refusing to even discuss the substance of the bill with me, Senator Sweeney, Senator Weinberg, Senator Sarlo, Assemblyman Greenwald, or Assemblyman Scher. I can't wave a magic wand and get a budget on my desk. But what I can do is stand up for the principles that we believe in and continue to stand ready to serve. I was here at work this morning at 9:30. I'll be here at work for as long as everyone else is here to work. And I can guarantee you one thing. If there's not a resolution to this today, everyone will be back tomorrow. I will use my constitutional authority to call the legislature back again tomorrow. Now, the Speaker is playing games with that, from what I can tell, and not asking his members to be here today. Some of them are here because they know it's the responsible thing to do. Others are on something that's called 2-hour call, whatever that is. Can't make a deal when you're on 2-hour call. And so I absolutely support the right of every one of these members, Republican or Democrat, of the Assembly and Senate to have a right to vote their conscience. And have supported that all throughout my time as governor. But they're not being given an opportunity to do that. In the end, we have an insurance company in this state that covers 55% of the market, that has no independent management, no transparency, and has continued to raise rates over and over again while maintaining a surplus that is well above its requirement to be a Blue Cross Blue Shield member. Fact is that their second highest revenue line is income from investments. It means they're taking your money both as ratepayers and as taxpayers. And instead of paying claims, they're holding it back to be able to invest it in the markets and make more money for themselves to pay their very, very high salaries and benefits. All I want here is transparency and accountability on behalf of Horizon. Long ago, I compromised with Democrats and some Republicans who were concerned about it, said, I don't have anything to do with any money that comes from these reserves. Let the next governor and the next legislature determine that. This is not about me. This is about long-term reform of this institution that is, again, a unique institution in the history of this state. A legislatively created insurer of last resort that has a special nonprofit status in this state afforded to none of the other insurance companies. They're a hybrid. So they're not a true nonprofit, but they're not an accountable, publicly owned insurance company, even though they obtained the right to be that back at the beginning of the last decade and to have the right to convert to for-profit status. But they want the best of both worlds. They want their nonprofit status, and they want the ability to act as they want to act, pay the claims they want to pay, and pay themselves whatever they want to pay themselves. and have a chairman and a CEO, which since my time as U.S. Attorney I've been saying is a bad governance model, puts too much power in the hands of just one person, and a completely non-independent board that doesn't question the will of this chief executive and his executive staff. One need only look at the circus that they've perpetrated in this city over the last 5 days, with paid employees from Horizon being paid by taxpayer money and ratepayer money to come down here and lobby the legislature. Big trucks with video screens. And all these things cost money, as do, as I said to you all yesterday, the millions and millions of dollars they spend every year, not only giving to other organizations that are now shockingly supportive of their cause, but all the different media advisories I got this morning, or many of them at least, all had Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield advertising on them. Politico, Observer, all with the hands-off healthcare ads. Now, you know, I understand you all need to get advertising to pay your salaries. But don't think for a minute that people don't wonder whether that allows you to be objective or not objective about this particular issue. I think lots of people question that. The point is that Horizon is trying to buy their way out of this problem. And I'm glad that there are people of conscience in the legislature who won't let them do that. So I'm here, I'm ready to work. Haven't heard from the Speaker since he's not willing to talk about the bill that passed the Senate in a bipartisan way. I saw him working hard last night while the board was open to get his 26 votes, sitting on his BlackBerry, working hard, whipping votes. I don't know what he was doing up there exactly. But fact is, he doesn't want me to give a speech today because he says they're in the middle of voting. It's fine. I'll figure out a way to communicate to the people of New Jersey. But if that's not the symbol of obstructionism, not only is it unconstitutional for him to bar the governor from his chamber, but that's okay. There's nothing going on in there anyway. So I'll go someplace where there is something going on and be able to talk to the people in New Jersey then. So the Speaker can sit down there by himself, continue to ponder what he wants to do next. I'm available to negotiate with anyone at any time. I am here, and I have been ready to work since 9:30 this morning. I left here last night at a little bit before 1, and I was back here at 9:30 this morning, and I'm ready to work. And so if there are people of goodwill who want to work with me, I'm happy to do it. And a lot of those people you see standing in this room are those people of goodwill who are here and ready to work. So happy to take a few of your questions before I go back upstairs. Michael.
So, Governor, you haven't budged since 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon.
I haven't budged. I haven't been spoken to. Michael, you can't negotiate with someone who refuses to talk. I mean, you cannot negotiate with someone who said, not just to me, but to Senator Weinberg and to Senator Sarlo and to someone Greenwald, I will not discuss it. They were bringing up ways to change the bill. He said, I won't discuss it. So I haven't budged. I'm the one who, there would have been no meeting if it wasn't for me yesterday, Michael. I'm the one who called the meeting. And in that meeting, there were 6 people who were willing to talk and 1 who wasn't. So I don't know how you negotiate with someone who's unwilling to talk. You know, he's happy to talk to all of you.
You could talk to us, and you could move off of your
Michael,
fixed position.
I don't negotiate with you. As respected as you are, you can't get me 1 vote, okay? So, love you to death, but not negotiating with you. I'm negotiating with the people who have the authority to do something. And, you know, there are lots of people out there who are willing to do it. So, and I'm willing to negotiate. And by the way, Michael, I said yesterday that if they had a counteroffer to make to me, make it. I said that publicly yesterday in response to your questions. There's nothing else I can do except be here. And I don't know if the Speaker's here yet or not. He wasn't here a little while ago. Be here, be working, and be available, and invite a counteroffer. What else would you like me to do? Just sign it? I'm not signing away my constitutional authority.
Make a suggestion publicly.
Sir, I've already made a suggestion, and my suggestion is pass the Senate. So I made a suggestion that's gotten bipartisan support. It's not a reason for me to make another suggestion. The Speaker is the one who's refusing to post the bill that passed the Senate. It is incumbent upon him to come back with an alternative. And his alternative is, I won't discuss it. Then he implied to all of you yesterday he might offer other things. Well, I haven't heard anything. I've been here. I was here until just before 1 o'clock, had my phone on all night, and got down here at 9:30 this morning. I haven't heard a thing. So I got a job to do too, Michael. Unlike him, I have to actually administer the government. I have to meet with the cabinet, handle all the closings of these places, decide which ones are open, which ones are closed, and then make sure that the work is being done. So this isn't my only job, unlike the Speaker. Yeah, Andrew.
Governor, the Speaker also said last night that, you had mentioned, hey, I'm willing to sign a mostly Democratic budget, the $300+ million in spending they added. And he said, well, no assurances, there are no assurances, cannot be trusted. He said, you wrote your word on pensions. Why should he, or anyone in the legislature, see you as an honest broker?
You know, that's just an excuse. Fact is, if you talk to the Senate President, he will tell you that every time I've kept my word when we had a deal on the budget. Every time. And the Senate President said that to the Speaker yesterday in our meeting when he said the exact same thing, as did Senator Sarlo. They both said to the Speaker directly, every time we've had a deal with the governor, he's kept his word, and the only time that he made extensive line item veto cuts was in 2011 when they refused to have a deal with me. Let us really remember the history here, okay? The pension and benefit was going on and budget. I asked them to make a deal with me on the budget, so I said, so we don't have that distraction. At that time, for whatever reason, Senate President Sweeney and Speaker Oliver said, no, we're passing a Democratic budget with no Republican votes. We're going to send it to you. We're not negotiating that with you. We're just negotiating pension and benefit reform. Well, okay. If left to my own devices, I made the cuts that I made. The Speaker wants to rewrite history on that. But don't take my word for it. Go ask the Senate President and Senator Sarlo, both of whom were directly involved in those negotiations or lack of negotiations at that time. So, you know, it's just not credible because I've kept my word on every one of the budgets that they've sent to me. And that's why, by the way, Andrew, we haven't had a shutdown in all these years. The only new player to this that's creating a shutdown is Vinnie Prieto. Steve Sweeney and I have been able to come to agreements. Sheila Oliver and I have been able to come to agreements. Vinnie Prieto is the only one that's now caused a shutdown. He's the only new player. That's the only difference. And he'd like to run from that, but he can't. And he still can't explain why he sponsored A1771 to take reserves, excess reserves from Horizon, and put them into charity care, a government-funded function. Now, all of a sudden, that's a principled wrong thing to do. The reason that he doesn't know how to answer that and says, well, people change and evolve. Yeah, that's a great answer. People change and evolve. He has no answer for it. He's John Kerry. He was for it before he was against it. Yes, Al.
Governor, on the budget itself, you have 28 Republicans here, I think, and all of them voted no against it. You held the line on a lot of those items that you're now, offering to approve in exchange for Horizon. And I wonder, that Horizon proposal from Vitale allows them to spend the excess surplus on their subscribers. So how does the state, from a fiscal perspective, benefit from this deal?
Oh, the state benefits. Listen, again, Sal, you think that this is a fiscal play. It is not. My initial bill was more of a fiscal play than this one is. I've compromised. That's why I continue to not understand why Michael doesn't get this. I didn't want the Vitale bill. I compromised to the Vitale bill. I compromised to put off any revenue coming in until after I leave the governorship. I compromised on the mechanism by which you do it. I've compromised on this over and over again. It is no longer a fiscal play, Sal. It's just not. This is now about transparency and accountability and the potential for a fiscal play down the line. If Horizon puts forward a plan, because remember right now they keep their excess surplus, Sal. They put forward a plan that the next Dobie commissioner approves of for them to spend that excess surplus on the underserved. Great. All I cared about was that the underserved get served. And they should get served by the nonprofit insurer with a charitable mission. And so it's not that at all. This is not a dollar for dollar thing. The spending is a totally different item. Why am I doing this? Again, Michael, to compromise. If I want them to do some things that they don't want to do, I have to do some things I don't want to do. And that's approving that additional spending. I don't want to do that, but I will do it in return for getting greater transparency and accountability on Horizon and a more solvent pension system by committing the lottery asset to the pension. It's very clear, yeah.
Governor, there's signs hanging on the outside of the State House and of this building that tell people to call the Speaker. Did your administration authorize those, and how are they being paid for?
There are advice to people about why the buildings are closed. Yes, ma'am. They are official government advice as to why the buildings are closed. And yes, they were approved by the governor.
And what's the budget for that?
It was 500 signs, so, you know, if you want to contribute, you can contribute if you like. Yes, Brian?
Governor, regarding those signs, and the verbiage you use about the Speaker's shutdown, but especially the signs, do you think that might work against you in trying to bring him around, or?
I'm not worried about it, Brian.
What's your philosophy in
People deserve to know the truth. They need to know when they go to an MVC building this morning why they can't get in. They can't get in because the Speaker failed to pass a budget. That's why they can't get in. If a budget came to my desk yesterday, Brian, let me say it again. Whatever budget would have come to my desk, I would have signed it. And then there wouldn't be any closure. 26 votes up on the board is why.
You think it might antagonize him?
I have no idea. He's not acting rationally anyway, so who knows? If you come into a conference room with 5 other members of your own party and you refuse to talk to members of your own party who are trying to urge you to compromise, you're not acting rationally. So I can't concern myself with the emotions of the Speaker. It's beyond my capability. I'm not a psychologist, although I might play one on TV someday, but I'm not one now. Yes, ma'am.
If the Speaker continues to not want to negotiate, how long could this go? Is there a cap on how long this could go?
No, it could be infinity. It could go right until I leave office. No, there's no constitutional cap on it. The cap is when the budget reaches my desk and state government can be funded constitutionally. That's the cap. Yes.
Speaking of when you leave office, the Senate President has indicated that he would be very open to repealing the Horizon Bill, assuming it ever got passed, given the fact that Mr. Murphy, who he is, I'm sure hopes wins, is in favor, not in favor of the Horizon Bill. So
That among
under this, an entire.
that among 8,000 other things that if Mr. Murphy were governor, he could repeal that I did. So what's your suggestion, that I just stop governing because now there's a campaign? I mean, I'm governor until I'm not. And Mr. Murphy and Ms. Guadagno are not governor until they are. That's the state of affairs. And everybody talks about what they'll do as a candidate. Believe me, I was one. When you get here, it becomes very different. So don't bet on a Horizon Bill, any services now, and then increase it. I just didn't think that was the right thing to do. So we've closed down everything that we believe is non-essential. I proposed in February in the speech. If they wanted to give me, like, when we did the drug package, if they wanted to act in 30 days on the Horizon bill, I would have been happy to have them act in 30 days and be able to negotiate it and sign it like we did with Senator Vitale again and others in the legislature on the opioid package. But they didn't want to act in that period of time. Senator Vitale took a period of time to research and work on the bill, talk to stakeholders, and came back to me. And as you can see from my original proposal to where it is now, it is a significant compromise. And I have been on the phone with Senator Vitale yesterday 4 different times to talk to him about the parameters of his bill, what was most important to him and what was most important to me. But Senator Vitale, as someone said, went last night himself to try to see the Speaker, and the Speaker wouldn't discuss it with him either. So, you know, it's not just me not talking to the Speaker, Michael. Joe Vitale wants to speak to the Speaker, and the Speaker won't talk to him. Won't have any meaningful negotiation with him on anything, so you follow.
The follow-up is, well, now I have 2 follow-up. Let's say it's February.
See, you're a slippery slope, but go ahead.
Let's say several months and it's February. That's still your final year in office, and you've had board members on Horizon, and now they're creeps who are overpaid and are hurting the people.
No, I didn't say my people were creeps.
Why did we hear about this during your first 7 years in office?
You know, Tom, because as you frequently write about, there are lots of issues to deal with. And, you know, a governor has to set priorities and decide what's possible, what's their highest priorities to do at a particular time, given whatever the circumstances are in the state. This came to me as a result of the opioid crisis and continuing complaints that I heard from policyholders at Horizon about them not being taken care of. That's why we dealt with some of the stuff in the opioid package about mandating certain treatments under insurance policies. That led me to look more into the situation, and that's why from the state of the state to the budget, I came up with the plan on Horizon. So, you know, you don't think of every idea. Someone asked me the same thing about the lottery. Why didn't I do it sooner? Well, my state treasurer for the first 6 years didn't come up with the idea. I got a new state treasurer, and I think there he is, and Ford's back there. And Ford came to me and said, I've got an idea on the pensions. And then we spent a year, nearly a year, getting all of the legal advice and financial advice we would need to see if it was legal and feasible and helpful to the pension. When he came to me and told me that he had all those opinions in place, then I made the proposal. So that's just the way it works in government. And I certainly hope that no office holder is held to the standard that they must have every idea they're ever going to have in 8 years about good government in your first term. Because then why run for a second term?
Okay. Have you spoken to George Norcross about this? And what do you think of the complaints that he has a conflict because he's hospital as part owner of AmeriHealth? So
I don't know. I've had no conversations with George about that at all, but I only know what I've read, which says that he or his institution owns 1% of AmeriHealth. I don't know how that creates a conflict for anybody, but it's immaterial to me because this was my idea. It wasn't anybody else's idea. And believe me, when I first announced it, you didn't see a whole bunch of people jumping up and down saying, hey, we want to do it, right? So it's not George's idea. It's not Steve's idea. It's not Joe Vitale's idea. It was Loretta Weinberg's idea. She sponsored a bill to take excess reserves from Horizon. At least now she's voting consistently. It was Vinnie Prieto's idea. He wanted to take excess reserves from Horizon. Now he's against it. So a lot of other people had that idea before me, but Mr. Norcross had nothing to do with this.
And you haven't discussed this bill with him?
Listen, I discuss lots of things with George, but I have not discussed anything specifically about the Vitale bill with him. Matt.
Governor, to clarify though, you did say that you brought this up in your budget, and you did, but it was the $300 million, or I don't know if you put a price tag on that.
I did not.
It wasn't the transparency and the extra oversight.
This is a part, Matt, of the negotiation.
But you're saying now that is a very...
Yeah, because Joe Vitale's convinced me. I mean, you know, like, listen, if I dig my heels in cement and I say, it's my idea, or go to hell, you guys say, look at how stubborn he is, he won't listen to anybody. Then when I listen to people and allow the bill to be changed and support it, then you say, well, why didn't you come up with it in the first place? It's not really your idea. I mean, you know, this is the difference between people who watch and people who do. Matt, you're a watcher. I'm a doer. Okay, that's the difference. Yeah.
You mentioned earlier yesterday that
I'm sure you like to watch too, Matt. I'm confident of that. Yeah, no one's come to me with that. Nope. No, and all this stuff that's getting batted around about other things to substitute for Horizon, nobody has come to me with any idea about that, nor have I given anyone else any ideas about it. I told you guys this, I don't think you were here yesterday, but I said this yesterday. The speaker asked me, are there any other public priorities of yours that you'd like for us to get done instead of Horizon? I said, listen, I'm not going to sit here and have that conversation. You want to make an offer, make an offer. Because he's the one who's got to provide the votes for that, right? So I'm not going to go out there and say, if he's got 41 Democrats in his House and 21 Democrats in the Senate that are willing to support another publicly pronounced policy priority of mine, think about how hard that was to say, especially on little sleep. Publicly pronounced policy priority of mine. That he wants to come to offer me, and he's got 41 and 21. I said this to Michael yesterday, I'd be willing to consider any counteroffer. I'm not going to guarantee I'll accept it, but I'm willing to consider it. None have come forward. Andrew.
Do you have an estimate for the number of state workers who will be furloughed starting maybe Monday?
You can get that from Brian. I don't know, off the top of my head, no, I'd just be guessing. So, yes, Dustin.
You said yesterday that your family had plans to stay at Island Beach, and they were not requesting services. Is there any update to that?
Yes, they're still not requesting services. No. Yeah. And they will continue to not request services. I don't know exactly what services we get, but they will not be requesting any services.
I can just say that we've heard from people in the public who have some concerns that, your family is staying at Island Beach and they get to enjoy it while others don't. So
Listen, I understand that. That's because the governor has a residence at Island Beach. Others don't. It's the way it goes. Run for governor, then you can have the residence. Congratulations. Wish you the best. Brian.
You mentioned that you might have something more for us later this afternoon.
I might, Brian. I want to keep you amused while you're here. I don't want you to be bored. I don't want you to be able to leave either. If I can't leave, there's no reason Brian Thompson should be leaving either. I know you're heading to the shore. I know you are, Brian, but not now. Not when I can't head to the shore, Brian. You can't head to the shore either. And neither can Michael Aaron. Because he's got to ask me in my next press conference why I don't just give in. Because that's his role, to ask the first question on why I don't just give in.
Governor, one follow-up to that.
One serious question? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
You called it the speaker shutdown.
Yeah.
He's tweeting out or sending emails calling it the Christie tax.
Tax? What's the tax?
He assumes that this could lead to, and he's argued that this could
And
lead to an increase.
Right, and that's because he hasn't read the bill. And the bill says that it cannot contribute, and Horizon must certify that it cannot contribute to any policy increase. So if he read the bill, he'd be a lot better informed. But Brian, he hasn't read the bill. He doesn't know the bill. All he knows is what Bill Kastner's told him about the bill. Bill Kastner writes his talking points for him, and the speaker goes out, and Kastner's behind him, pulling the string and telling him what to say. I mean, that's what happened with Steve Phillip. Let's just remember, there's a history here. Steve Phillip stood behind him and told him what to say on Atlantic City when we had the crisis about Atlantic City, when he was refusing to do that. Now we got Bill Kastner telling him what to say here. And then we had the unions telling him what to do on the ARB cap. Remember when he did that and stopped the ARB cap from being extended? This is a guy who champions causes that no one can figure out why he's championing and which he can't give a policy explanation for. And it happened on the arbitration cap. It happened on Atlantic City. Look at what's happening in Atlantic City now, Brian. If we had listened to Vinnie Prieto, property taxes wouldn't have been reduced in Atlantic City. Hard Rock wouldn't have come and invested in Atlantic City if we had listened to Vinnie Prieto. So I'm not listening to him now.
Governor, you've mentioned Bill Kastner an awful lot in the past few months. Is this personal?
Let me tell you something. The last time I saw Bill Kastner was when he was John Corzai's chief counsel during the transition in 2009. And I haven't seen him since. But it's personal to the people of New Jersey because you got a $1.4 million lobbyist who is pulling the strings here. And that's what's going on. He's determining all this money being spent. He's determining this strategy. Not personal. It's business. It's business. That's all. Anything else? Yeah, Michael. No, Michael, I'm not going to give in. But what's your next question?
You're not going to
Give in. But what's your next question?
You campaign to end unused sick and vacation time vigorously.
Yeah.
You talked about both checks that are an abuse of the system.
And they still are.
If the Assembly Speaker were to offer you passage of a bill that capped or did away with those boat checks instead of the Verizon bill as part of this package or global deal, why not take something that would benefit the property taxpayers of the state?
Are you offering it? I mean, see, like this.
People are talking that.
Oh, good. Well, let them talk to me. Let them talk to me. No one's talked to me about it. If they're talking to you, then, you know, grab them by the arm and say, hey, I'm pretty good friends with the governor. I bet you I can get you in. You bring them up. You could be the peacemaker. Blessed are the peacemakers, Michael. So if you want to grab those people and who are in the wind on this and then get me 41 and 21 votes on it, the reason we don't have sick leave, smart, appropriate sick leave reform, like what Assemblywoman Munoz has put forward, which is a bill that I could support, have supported, and would sign, then they should come and offer it to me. But I'm not going to respond to offers that haven't been made. But let's just say this, Michael, I am open to counteroffers.
Didn't you just tell one of my colleagues that Prieto said to you, is there anything else we could do?
And I said, and I will give you once again, like I did yesterday, my response. I said to him, you come to me with an offer that has 41 Democratic signatures in your House and 21 Democratic signatures in the Senate, and then we'll talk about it. But I am not going to talk about hypotheticals with him when he can only get 26 votes for his own budget. How do I know he can get 41 votes? He couldn't get 41 votes to stop the ARB caps. He couldn't get 41 votes to stop the Atlantic City legislation. And he can't get 41 votes for his budget. So what I said very clearly to him was, come to me with 41 signatures. Not asking me to get my Republican friends to sign on. They would sign on to Munoz's bill in a heartbeat, I suspect. But show me that the Democrats are willing to make this offer to me and that it's a bona fide offer that will pass. Because what will happen, Michael, if I buy a pig in a poke is, then they'll come back to me and go, well, we don't want it to be zero means zero. How about a $5,000 cap or a $7,500 cap? Then I'm in a negotiation on that. No. You want to negotiate with me? Come to me with an offer that I know will pass. Then you make it hard on me. Then I got a real decision to make. If it's just in the wind, as you put it, there's lots of things that get in the wind, right, Michael? And sometimes they stay and sometimes they blow away. I'm not going to put my credibility on the line for something that may blow away. So I told him yesterday, and you can ask Weinberg and Sarlo and Sweeney and Scher and Greenwald. I said to him, come to me with a counteroffer that has 41 and 21, then I'm happy to consider it. I'm not going to guarantee you I'll accept it because I don't know what the offer will look like, but I'll look at it if it comes that way. If it's just off the top of my head so I can leak it to you guys and say the governor's considering this. So I'm telling you right now, all the stuff I've read, no one has come to me with it. Not even his secret emissary, who doesn't know where 225 West State Street is. I mean, if you think about some of the ridiculous stuff he said in the last 48 hours, like he can't allow me to speak in the assembly chamber because they're in the middle of a vote. The Constitution says the governor can go in there. His rule, wherever it comes from, doesn't trump the Constitution of the state of New Jersey. But that's okay. I didn't ask to go. I'll find my way to communicate to the people of New Jersey without the speaker. He can sit up in his rostrum with his open board and his 26 votes and his little iPhone. And he can play around and wait to see if he might get to 27 or 28.
Is that like small hands?
No. The iPhone is little. He's got a smaller one. He's not one of the real big ones, Michael. It's a factual statement. He's got the smaller iPhone, like I do, not the real big one, like some of my staff has. Yes, sir.
One of the things the speaker said was that you came to them with an offer to sign the legal notices bill instead of Verizon, and that way
That is an absolute flat-out lie. Absolute flat-out lie. And see, this is what he's trying to do. So then he wants to inflame Moran again and get Moran going all crazy about legal notices, right? More front-page editorials and big ads from the Star Ledger. Yeah, right. So I'm not that stupid. I'm not going to go down that road. And that's why, Michael, I didn't give him any topics, because that's exactly what he wanted to do, was to leak them out and get me to open up a three-front war. No, thank you. Absolute lie. Absolute, total lie. And by the way, ask the other 5 people in the room if I said that. Afterwards, I didn't speak to him afterwards. He was the first one who left the room. He left the room and closed the door, and I stayed in the room. He and Cher left, and the other people stayed. So it wasn't afterwards, and I haven't spoken to him since he walked out of the room. Through Greenwald? Please. Yeah, because we know that Greenwald and Prieto have such a close relationship that they're talking all the time. I mean, come on, Sal. Yes?
Governor, now that we're officially here at Shutdown.
Yes, we are officially here. Thank you for framing it for us, Dustin. Yes. You're not on TV, you know. You're in the print side, so you don't have to do that. Michael does that. Here I am in the State House. Let me now speak to Speaker Prieto. Well, he was sweating like crazy last night, wasn't he? Michael? That was brutal watching that. I was watching that. He looked like Marco Rubio in that debate I had with Rubio in February in New Hampshire. The sweat was unbelievable. I turned to Amy Craddock. I said, have you ever seen a man sweat like that? And she said, yeah, Marco Rubio in February in New Hampshire. I'm like, you're right. The sweat was incredible. I was just hoping he wasn't going to move his head too much and you might get, you know, some sweat on you, Michael. You deserve better than that. You're the dean of the press corps. Yes, Dustin. Have I completely thrown you, Dustin? Okay, good. That was pretty good, right? That was a high point. Not hard, but, you know, it was a high point.
We're officially at the shutdown. Have you, considering the circumstances, are you at a point where you want to change your position publicly about whether the speaker should keep his job or whether you should?
No, I don't. Listen, I'll say the same thing I've said before. In my 8 years, I only got involved in one legislative leadership fight, and it was a mistake. And I was wrong, and I blew it. I'm not getting involved in another one. Just not. It's not my job. They get to pick their leaders. I don't. And the one time that I tried to, it was a mistake. So I'm not getting involved in it. Well, it is. He's shut down. Has he passed a budget? I can't pass a budget. I cannot pass a budget. I do not have the constitutional authority to pass a budget. He has not passed a budget. It is his shutdown. If I told you all yesterday, they send me a budget yesterday, I would have signed it. But a lot of them don't like what I would have done to it without the Horizon bill. So they're making a choice. So I can't do what I can't do. So no, I'm not, you know, willing to do what you suggest. I don't know. Anything else? You know, once again, I mean, you know, let me tell you something. Listen, I just want to tell you that you should write today what a generous and good person I am for taking any of your questions. That should be the lead in your column. It won't be, but it should be. Go ahead. What do you want?
Last question is, how are you going to live without this job? I mean, you look like a man in his element who's just having a blast, even in this crisis.
You know, Tom, I think it's a 5-letter word, Tom. I think money will make a lot of it up to me. I haven't made more than $175,000 a year for 16 years. And I have 2 kids that are, one that's through college, one that's got 1 more year left. And I got 2 more children who are 16 and 14 who I have to put through college. And I think what Mary Pat wants more than anything else after this job is for me to attempt to realize my financial potential. And so, will I miss the job? Of course I'll miss the job. The same way I missed U.S. Attorney. And I still miss being U.S. Attorney. I loved that job. And I love this job. But I've done everything I can do. I've had 8 years. You're not allowed to have more than 8 years. And so, yeah, I'm in my element. This is one of the things I'm good at. Now I got to find something else to be good at. But when I was U.S. Attorney, I didn't know I was going to be good at this. I hoped I would be, but I didn't know I was going to be. Now it turns out I am. And that's really good. And I've enjoyed it. And the men and women who are standing here who've served with me over the last 8 years, I have enormous admiration for, respect for their friendship, and I'm going to miss interacting with them. I mean, most of them. The ones that are here, I'll miss interacting with. Some other ones I won't miss Vinny. But the fact is that, you know, I'll be fine. I'm a fairly well-adjusted guy, and, fairly. I said fairly, Tom. And you're fairly well-adjusted, too. So, fact is, I don't have an option to stay longer. And quite frankly, as I've told people, even if I did, I don't think I would. Because I really do think there's wisdom to 8 years. I think there's wisdom giving people an opportunity to hear a different voice. And, I am a different type of public figure than we've ever seen in the state of New Jersey. I've been either the U.S. attorney or the governor, which I think are two of the four most important jobs in the state, including the United States senators in public life, for 16 years. I've been a voice on big public issues every year for 16 years. That's a lot of time. And I think it's time to give someone else a chance to do that. And I've had my time in the sun, and I'm happy in January to move on to something else.